Welcome to FPL Selection. Today we're going to take a look at how the team is shaping up for Game Week 23, but first a quick look at how we got on in Game Week 22. So 41 points overall, now outside the top 1,000, mainly thanks to Chris Wood and Anthony Robinson. They've been killing me every week recently. But we're still only 83 points from first place, so still plenty of time to make it back up and potentially win it by the end of the year. But maybe we're becoming a bit of a long shot now, but definitely still possible anyway. So the stars of the team, there was only a couple really. Alexander Arnold with 11 points, got an assist, clean sheet and 2 bonus. And then Bruno Fernandes popping up with 8 points out of nowhere with a penalty. Got the 1 bonus point. Again, showing that United don't have to be good for him to get points. But I think I'd rather see United do well and him not get any points, to be honest, but that's for another day. So let's move on and look ahead to Game Week 23. So we've got 4 free transfers and $500,000 in the bank. I am looking ahead now to Game Week 24 for the double, and specifically a third Liverpool player. I would like to get one of the attackers, and my first choice would be Diaz, but I really don't want to replace any of my midfielders at the moment, and I do think Diaz's minutes might be a bit dodgy. It's always difficult to predict when he gets benched. So I am looking at Gakpo as a potential third Liverpool, but then I'm also eyeing up Alisson as a bit more straightforward, just going straight right at Alisson, whereas Gakpo I would need to make other moves to free up the budget, because I would probably take him in for João Pedro. I would prefer to have Van Dijk from the Liverpool defence, but I certainly won't be selling Gabriel or Lewis Hall. So those are the 2 options for me. I am leaning towards Alisson at the moment just because of the simplicity and not spending too many transfers. I'm not sure that I can see Gakpo scoring enough to make it worthwhile just bringing him in for a few weeks. I certainly wouldn't want him for the long term anyway. So I'm going to have a think about that up until the deadline, but I'd say more likely I would go for Alisson, or maybe just wait 1 more week, wait for the double. I just quite like the Ipswich at home fixtures. It seems like a good time to bring one of them in. But like I said, I'll wait up until the deadline for that. The other thing to consider is, at the moment, I'm likely to go for triple captain on Salah. So I probably won't need the extra space for Arne's slot when the assistant manager chip comes in from Game Week 24. Again, that does sort of merit maybe waiting until next week, because then that leaves that option open also. So see how I feel close to the deadline on that one. So moving on to the team, first let's have a look at the defence. So Arsenal are away to Wolves, so we've got the double defence there. And this week, until their loss to Forest, Wolves had actually scored in every home game this season, and that was actually the game that Cunha was suspended for, so it doesn't bode well for an Arsenal clean sheet, and they haven't had any in the last 4 games. But looking at the stats, their expected goals against for those 4 games, it was actually just 3.63, and that did include a penalty and a heavily deflected goal, Son goal, in the North London derby. So they are still keeping the chances down to a minimum. So that, if they keep that up, there's always a good chance they're going to pick up clean sheets. And Wolves are certainly a very hit and miss team. There's rumours about Cunha leaving as well, potentially. I think he upset the manager in the last game with his on-field demeanour, I guess is how you would say it. But I do think I'm going to keep faith with the Arsenal players for now, but I am starting to think it's maybe not worth the money, especially with Raya. Although Gabriel does always carry the set piece threat, and Wolves are the worst in the league for defending set pieces, so yeah, it might be a route to points this week. Then Alexander-Arnold is at home to Ipswich. They just conceded 6 in the last game at home to City, but they did give Liverpool a game in game week 1. It was quite a tight game until Liverpool did score, but if they play with a deep block, Liverpool do tend to struggle, as we saw in the game last week against Brentford. But then if Ipswich do play like that, it will limit them going forward, so it does sort of increase the clean sheet chances, you would think, for Liverpool. If they can manage the counter-attacks well, you can see a good chance for a clean sheet. And it probably mean that Trent will play quite high up the pitch, and you've seen his ability on crossing the ball in. There's always going to be chances created for others, so yeah, I think there's another good chance of a haul here for Trent. Then Lewis Hall is away to Southampton, who haven't scored in the last 3 home games, so the way they're playing as well at the moment, you'd have to back a clean sheet here for Newcastle. And yeah, of course, that's going to mean Hall's going to have plenty of chances to get forward as well. So potential for attacking returns, which he's definitely been picking up recently. Got the assist from the corner last week against Bournemouth, so yeah, very happy to have him in this side. So let's move on to the midfield now. Salah is at home to Ipswich this week. Seems to be the obvious choice for captaincy, especially after seeing Ipswich concede 6 to City last week. Salah did get a goal in the Champions League, so not too concerned after he blanked in the last 2 Premier League games. He's still getting the chances, and I'd be very surprised if he came away with nothing from this game. I'm going to captain him again this week over Isak. I just think you just got to back Salah in a home game against a promoted team. We've just conceded 6 goals the week before. The chances come, you can just see him getting to 2-3 goals, maybe an assist here and there. Yeah, just depends on the game, I guess. If Liverpool can score early, then the floodgates will open, I think. So quality difference between the defenders and the attackers of Liverpool, it's yeah, you can only see it going one way really. And as I've said before, I like captaining people for several weeks in a row, and this will be the 2nd week for Salah. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to sway away from that before the deadline. Mbumo is away to Palace. Palace actually have 4 clean sheets in the last 9 games, which sort of backs up their improvement, as the results are definitely turning in their favour. But none of those have actually been at home, so I can see Brentford playing sort of cautiously and trying to catch them out on the counter. As Palace will probably be more attacking at home, that's probably why they don't have any clean sheets. But yeah, if Brentford do play on the counter, you can see Mbumo getting the chances. He's always a big threat on the counter. He did score in the reverse fixture as well on the opening day of the season. So yeah, quietly hopeful of a return here for Mbumo. And as I keep saying with him, he's a man to keep for many weeks, because yeah, points will pop up here and there with him. Nice and consistent. Fernandes is away to Fulham. Fulham actually still only have 1 clean sheet at home all season, and that was a 0-0 draw with Southampton. But United are still very inconsistent. They don't look like scoring many goals. You can't see where they're coming from. But Bruno does keep finding the points, even when United are terrible. Like last week he got the penalty. He just seems to always get the points and always gets bonus whenever he gets a return. So I'm happy to keep him ticking along for another week. I might sacrifice him next week for the 3rd Liverpool player just to get the funds, but yeah, I'm still not sure on that one. I think Bruno Fernandes, again, he's one of those players, you just keep him for many weeks and you'll just get the points appear on a consistent basis. He'll pop up in random games and the average will be nice and high. So yeah, I'm in no rush to sell him at the moment, even though United are terrible. Gordon is away to Southampton. They have conceded 11 in the last 3 games, as well as in the last 3 home games, should I say, in the same way that they haven't scored in any of those. So Newcastle obviously are expected to score a few here. Of course, Gordon's going to be involved, especially after a full week's rest as well, to prepare for the game. And after getting hammered by Bournemouth last week, they're going to be dead set on getting back to winning ways. The fact they get the full week's rest, one of the advantages of not playing in Europe. Yeah, you can only see this game going one way, and yeah, going to expect some points from Gordon for sure. And then Palmer is away to City. Now City have definitely been better in the last few weeks, certainly going forwards. The defence is still a big mess at the moment. And yeah, I think they've only had 2 clean sheets all season, so you're going to expect at least 1 Chelsea goal, and of course Palmer's going to be involved. Especially going back to City, he's always going to want to prove a point, and that extra motivation, yeah, you can see him, yeah, definitely getting at least 1 return. You would have thought if Chelsea are going to get a goal. He's still averaging 7.5 points per game for the whole season, so he's easily the second best midfielder in the game, and yeah, there's no chance I'm going to be selling him probably for the rest of the season. I'm surprised to see he was the most sold player in this week, but yeah, for me he's not going anywhere. So on to the forwards. Isak away to Southampton. I can't say much more about Southampton really than I already have. It's the worst team in the league against the best striker. He's had the full week's rest now, so hopefully any little niggling injuries that he's got, hopefully he's managed to clear some of those up. He was quiet against Bournemouth, but I'd say that was more down to Bournemouth's performance rather than any issues with him. Just Bournemouth just played such a great game, and the amount of pressure they put on Newcastle, yeah, they just weren't able to put much together. Isak's definitely a consideration for captaincy this week, but as I said before, I like captaining the same player for a few weeks in a row, and I'm already into that with Salah, and especially with Ipswich at home. I do think Isak will score well, but I always think Salah is just that little level above, and especially being a midfielder, getting the extra points for the goal and the clean sheets, and yeah, I just think it's the points are there if someone wants to take the gamble on Isak, but for me, I've already set on Salah, so yeah, won't be captaining him this week. And then Pedro is at home to Everton. He was unlucky to have a goal ruled out against United. It's just a marginal foul in the build-up. So he could have still been keeping pace with Chris Wood, which I mentioned last week, that they were very close on points for the weeks that Pedro has been fit. But it would be nice to see a few more returns from him. I think they're coming. As I said, he's had a couple disallowed in the last few games. He would be the make weight for Gakpo if I do bring him in for the double in 24. But I can still see myself bringing Pedro back shortly afterwards. I just think at the price, you're getting great value for the points that he's picking up, and they'll come. I think he's still getting in the right places. He's still the main man for Brighton, and yeah, the Brighton seem to be having an upturn in form as well. So yeah, I think the goals will come for him definitely. So as mentioned earlier, Salah captain again this week. It's the second of a 3-week run, so I'm going to stick with that. And Palmer will probably be my vice captain actually. I just think he's a level above Isak, just a more dependable fantasy asset. You know, he's more likely to score in more games and more likely to get a higher score. So yeah, I think I'm just going to stick the vice on Palmer, although hopefully I won't need it. Hopefully the storms will have passed before the weekend, which is definitely another reason to hold my transfers until the deadline. And I think at this moment in time I am probably leaning more towards just rolling the transfer. Just not sure that bringing Alisson in for over Raya this week, I think the extra week of information might be useful, just to get either the extra Liverpool player, or if I do end up wanting to go for Slot for the double, the assistant manager chip. That's it for this one. thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.